We have amazing students, faculty, and staff in District 5, and we appreciate them being here tonight. I'll now entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of January 27th. Ms. Hutchison.
I move that we approve the minutes of the January 27th, 2020 board meeting as shown in the packet.
Is there a second? Ms. Hammond. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? I'll now recognize Dr. Christina Melton for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. Tonight from the superintendent's report, we have 2 items of interest for the board to hear an update. The first one, I'm going to call upon our Chief Instructional Officer, Mr. Giuliano, so that he can share the introductions from this evening's report regarding our Professional Development Schools District, our PDS model. Mr. Giuliano.
Thank you, Dr. Melton. Board members, I'm excited to be able to offer an update for our Professional Development School District partnership with the University of South Carolina. So we have a few of our coordinating council members here today in the audience. So I'd like to introduce them as they've been instrumental in the partnership and making sure that this partnership has been a success. We have done 2 years now of implementation in addition to our discussion, planning beforehand to lead up to the implementation these past 2 years. So in the audience today, we have our Director of Elementary Education, Mrs. Tina McCaskill. If she wouldn't stand, please. We have our Principal of Irmo High School International Arts School is Dr. Robin Hardy. We have our Director of Special Services, Dr. Angie Slatton. And then we have our presenter for today in our partnership with the University of South Carolina. We have Dr. Shelley Curcio. And I'm going to ask Dr. Curcio to come to the podium for our presentation today. Dr. Curcio.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon rather, evening. Is this still on? Thank you. Good evening. It is an honor to be here tonight representing our Professional Development School District model. As you heard, I'm Shelley Curcio, and I have the honor of serving as the liaison. And I've spoken with you all a few times in the past, and most recently I was here last April sharing updates as to where we were, and to hear Mr. Giuliano reference that we are now fully into year 2 of our Professional Development School District just really makes my heart sing and brings me so much joy, because we are really truly making an impact on teaching and learning for the students here in the district and for our teacher candidates, our families, and all stakeholders that we're engaged with. So what I'm going to do today is just share a few brief updates with you as to what we've been doing as a Professional Development School District since the last time I came and spoke to you in April. So just as a reminder, our vision for our PDSD model really focuses on that essence of enhancing the social, emotional, and physical well-being for students and staff to ultimately yield academic gains. And this is a partnership, a reciprocal experience in which we are working together. And I turn and point back here because this work could not be done without the collaboration between efforts of my colleagues at USC and our colleagues here in the district. So I just thank them for the work that they engage in daily as well to make this work. So some goal updates to just kind of share where we've been and how we've been evolving. And it's been a really fruitful year this year. We've had the opportunity to share our work in publications that have gone out nationally, as well as we were able to share our work with President Caslin when he came on board and did his tour of the Midlands. One of the places that he stopped was here at this building to learn about our Professional Development School District model and understand the wonderful teaching and learning that's going on in District 5. So not just about our partnership, but the learning in general occurring. So it's been a really fruitful experience to be able to share our work as we're growing and evolving. So our goal updates, we have 3 key goals that are connected to our vision. First is goal number 1. And goal number 1 focuses on our 4K classrooms. And that work was started last year under the guidance of Dr. Kate Aceta, one of my wonderful colleagues from the University of South Carolina, as well as working closely with Tina McCaskill, Davita Price, Angie Slatton. They've all been tackling this goal together. And it has been an evolution over the past year and a half, per se. So all pre-K4, all 4K teachers, teaching assistants, whether general education or special education, are still participating in those monthly leadership professional development sessions. But what's been added on top of that is they gained a grant, an EOC, Educational Oversight Committee grant, that's been able to extend the work even deeper into Seven Oaks, Lee Park, Harbison West, Nursery Road, Dutch Fork, and now H.E. Corley has been added to this work. So this has been able to really hone in on the social, emotional well-being of our 4K students at these sites. And they have additional facets that they've been engaged in. They have behavior buddies, right? Dr. Aceta is wonderful at naming it with an early childhood perspective. So they have behavior buddies that our teachers have not only engaged in, but our school-based administrators have participated in some lunch and learns along with them. And then there's been regular coaching opportunities through a district coach that's been supported through this grant, in which they're getting coached on data, on things that have been seen in their classrooms, on what is so lovingly called in pre-K the teapot model. So the teapot model connects to PBIS as we know of it in our elementary and secondary world, but the teapot model is what it's called in the primary world, in the early childhood world. And so being coached in those experiences on what does it take to really establish an effective, quality early childhood classroom environment is what's been going on with goal number 1, which naturally led us to goal number 2. So goal number 2 really hones in on kindergarten through 12th, right? Which that's a lot. That's a really large amount of students and teachers and staff and schools. So we've been really intentional. We've used data to drive our decisions, and we're beginning this work that's launched this fall in 4 schools: Seven Oaks, Harbison West, Crossroads, and Irmo Middle. Again, focusing on social emotional learning, but really looking at that transitional grade band of 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and how our students are progressing through those grades as they become 4th graders into that middle school year of 6th grade, which is a really transitional year for our kiddos. There's so much development going on with them at that period of time. So what we've engaged in this past year in launching that is really engaging in some systematic design of collaborative professional development, and collaborative in the nature that this is not something that I'm coming in and doing. It's not something that's being done here. We're really collectively working together, gathering feedback from the schools, from the teachers, and finding out where are their assets, where are the strengths, and then where might we all work together to enhance the social emotional learning going on in these grade levels at these schools. So this has been very exciting. We have launched this. I actually have a full day out at Harbison West this Wednesday, in which we are just working in the schools and really working to enhance that social emotional learning in these classrooms. Again, within that, there are 2 other facets that we've been working on to advance and looking forward. One are some new additional Goal 2 partnerships, as I'm calling them. Teacher cadets. I've been working very closely with Derek Hines, who oversees teacher cadets for all of the University of South Carolina. This year, all 4 high schools in District 5 are connected to teacher cadets at University of South Carolina. And so Derek and I have been brainstorming and planning, how might we intentionally use some of the strategies with teacher cadets, some of the placements with teacher cadets, again to support goal number 2 and support not only their social emotional well-being, but perhaps their placements when they're working with elementary and middle-aged children. So this is work that's coming. Again, I've also been in conversations with the Carolina Family Engagement Center, because this is not just about the teachers and students in these 4 schools. This is about the teachers and students in all of District 5. We're just starting small here so we can expand to be mighty across the district. So in the background, I've got all of these pieces and parts moving so that we can next year have an action plan ready to advance the work that we're doing, not only in goal number 1, but in goal number 2. So that leads me to goal number 3. Goal number 3 is our Inquiry Matters Conference. Last year, we hosted the first ever secondary Inquiry Matters Conference at Irmo Middle School. This year, we again will have that conference plus our elementary early childhood conference on April 25th. If any of you would like to come and experience the glory of this day, I welcome all of you. April 25th from 8 to 12:30, we are co-hosting. It is a joint venture between the University of South Carolina, PDS Network, and District 5. Running 2 parallel conferences, the elementary early childhood at Dutch Fork, the secondary at Irmo Middle. Last year we had almost 400 teachers and teacher candidates join us on this day from the Midlands and beyond. We had folks from North Carolina come to learn from us. And the beauty about this conference is that it is teacher-led and teacher-developed. Many of our presenters come from right here within our professional development school district, and we're already in the works and excited to do this. Cassie Pascal and I, the principal, as you know, are planning diligently to ensure that this again is a success at the secondary level, and the elementary one this is its 14th year of existence. So we're very excited. So this is a free conference for all teachers to attend, and truly our focus is on inquiry and how might we use this as a pedagogical practice in the classroom for students to engage in deep thinking and problem solving, but also how can we use inquiry as a professional development model to enhance our teaching and learning as educators. So again, I welcome you all. If you would like to join us on April 25th, we will be at Dutch Fork and we will be at Irmo Middle School. So those are some very quick updates with regards to what we've been doing, and it really just kind of is a glimpse at our PDSD work, but more importantly, we're really just striving to continue to partner with purpose, because we are partnering with purpose in our partnership. And that is it.
Thank you. Dr. Melton, would you entertain questions?
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Dr. Melton regarding the PDSD?
I just had one. You were talking about rolling this out further, and you were talking about teacher cadets. Were you also talking about encompassing more elementary schools in your mix? I can't remember the exact number now, the ones that are here, but you know, we have quite a few. We're building our 13th elementary school as we speak, so we're hoping that this effective program might affect all our schools.
Mr. Gann, if I could answer that, and I'll look to Mr. Giuliano in case he'd like to add to it. Our hope, of course, as you heard Dr. Curcio describe it, as we're going to start small and expand to be mighty. We are starting small, and I appreciate the work of the University of South Carolina of guaranteeing and assuring some time of Dr. Curcio and many others to have time reserved on their calendars to be a part of School District 5. So yes, our teacher cadets will eventually be something we want to make sure that it's inclusive of all of our schools. Teacher cadets, of course, are our high school students who are interested to explore perhaps the teaching profession. This year we celebrate that all of our teaching cadet programs in all 4 high schools are actually under the umbrella of the University of South Carolina. That has not been that way before. We've worked with other universities prior to this year, so we feel like having one organized system has allowed us to come together to have a shared focus. And then the unity of a recent celebration back in the fall. What an event that was to go down on the campus and see cadets from all across the state that were there together, knowing that District 5 had that experience in one place at the same time was truly uplifting. So our plan is to definitely spread across the district, placing candidates where is a right fit and appropriate match for them and their skill set.
Ms. Hammond?
On goal number 2, am I on, guys? The focus on social emotional learning within 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. I think that's so important. Would you expand a little bit in explaining to people social, emotional, how you go about, I mean, I know they know what it means, but how we go about teaching that or helping a student to, you know, thrive in that type of setting, because I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about social and emotional learning from a tiered perspective, right? So thinking about that first tiered perspective, which is really establishing that responsive classroom environment for all students to thrive in. And then as we're identifying the relationships, making those commitments to children, there might be some of our students who maybe that is not this, they are not responding to that tier 1. So then we're going to then look at what might be some of those strategies we can put in place, specifically social skills, experiences, restorative practices, de-escalation, self-regulation, helping our students deal with the anxieties and stress of school and sometimes just of life, and understanding how to step back, be mindful, and be present. And then beyond that, we might have a percentage, hopefully it's only like 2 to 3% of our students that might need some even more intensive interventions, but really looking to see how can we create that quality tier 1 environment that is responsive to the needs of all learners.
I think that's almost, if not the most important point of this, because kids, the anxiety, and you don't know what they come to from home.
Right.
And by sixth grade, I love where you're doing it, because by sixth grade, they've really gone into that shell or have found that little niche that's not really where someone want to be. And then that middle school is so social and peers, and I just think that's a great place to hit it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Melton? Thank you.
Dr. Curcio, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to the representatives of the coordinating council that are here. That also includes Mr. Giuliano. So thank you all for your work. This is year 2. Imagine what a year from now is going to be as we continue to partner with purpose. Thank you, Dr. Curcio.
Thank you.
Our next update this evening comes from the Office of Planning and Administration. Dr. Harris has an update regarding safety. Dr. Harris.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Chairman Cates, members of the board, Dr. Melton, and our community. Thank you so much for yet another opportunity to share with you and talk to you just a little bit about our safety by way of an update. I'd like to share with you, as I have done in so many circles in which I travel, a statement that I oftentimes make, and that is that when it comes, the responsibility of safety is the responsibility of all. That is something I'd like to impress upon our staff and our students. I'd like to share with you on tonight that I do believe, and we do believe, that the safety is the responsibility of all of us to ensure not only our own safety, but to ensure the safety of those around us as well. And hopefully that you will see throughout this very brief presentation that in action. Okay, next slide, please. What we'd like to begin with is simply reiterating our priorities, and our priorities, again, are twofold. We've tried to be consistent with this as well. Priority number 4, which references the internal communication, internal and external communication, as well as priority number 5, which, again, ensures talks about the safety of all of our students and all of our staff here in School District 5. I have a couple of gentlemen behind me. Over the next couple of slides, we'll give some highlights in reference to safety, and we will certainly conclude with some closing statements prior to our conclusion.
All right. All right, talk about our team, safety office, internal and external. There's Dana Cato, he's responsible for the Chapin area, and Ross Wise is responsible for Dutch Fork area, and Curtis Cannon, myself, I'm responsible for the Irmo area. We have 26 resource officers. We have a strong partnership with both sheriff departments. We have 14 in Richland County and 12 in Lexington County. We also have 2 at each high school. All right, we're also members of the SCASA Security Roundtable, and we do a lot of networking and training with this organization. We get to kind of see what other districts are doing, and it's been beneficial for the district. Also, radio communication, we've transitioned from analog to digital over the last 2 years. Right now, we have 781 digital radios in our schools.
Good evening. Next thing we're going to talk about is our emergency operations plans. This is the documents we use just in case we ever have an emergency at a school and we need to either evacuate, have a reunification, or give information to law enforcement in a timely manner. One of the exciting things we've been doing with these operations plan is we've gone from the standard paper copies, made everything digital. So if we need to access them, we can access them anywhere that we have the internet access. One of the things we've also done is we've collaborated with both Lexington and Richland County emergency management directors for both counties. We've provided to their respective counties the schools so they can look over our plans, hopefully facilitate a quicker response if needed. Another aspect we have done that we're the only one in the Midlands that has done this, and they were very proactive about it. Both directors loved it, was the aspect that we've given school maps, and we are going to give stadium maps also, to both 911 dispatches for both counties. That means if they get an emergency and a school address pops up on their in-car camera or in-car computer, they'll be able to look at the map of the school and hopefully facilitate a quicker response. That makes students safer, makes firefighters, police officers safer so they know where they're going. Next thing I'd like to talk about is Emergency Responders Advisory Meeting. We hold that twice a year. We partner with multiple first responder agencies in our area. We have a very good partnership with them. I'm going to read a couple that responded or came to our last meeting. We had Richland County EMS, we had Prisma Health, Lexington County Sheriff's Department, Richland County Sheriff's Department, Lexington County EMS, National Weather Service, Columbia Richland County Fire Service, IRMO PD, South Carolina Department of Transportation, IRMO Fire Department, and like I said previously, Lexington County and Richland County Emergency Management Division. One I specifically want to point out that we're pretty excited about is we are partnering with SLED, specifically Special Agent Wayne Freeman. He is over their active shooter program, and we've had the ability to speak with him, and he's going to come speak with us about what we're doing right inside the district, maybe some areas we can improve on, but we're pretty excited about him coming. Another aspect I'd like to talk about is Stop the Bleed Kids. I'm very proud of this, that every full-time classroom in the school district has a kid. Very excited about that. We are also fully train the trainers in that, so we can give it to our employees and any other new employees coming. And lastly, the safety drills, I'll touch briefly on. We go beyond and above some of the drills. We're only required to have 2 active shooter, 2 severe weather, earthquake, and 2 fire drills. We have monthly fire drills, and we also include all the previous ones I mentioned before.
Good evening. I'm going to talk to you about our athletic procedures and what we put into place and finish up with Identikit. When we were at the last SCASA conference, they had a representative from the Southeast. And believe it or not, he said that South Carolina is ahead of the ball game in school security, something we're not last in. But Lexington District 5 is well above that. We exceed that. And I can tell you that because when we put our things into place for the athletic procedures, other districts started calling us to see what we were doing. So what we've done is on top of having deputies, which we always had there, we now have an event staff that helps us out. What that does is it allows the deputies to keep their eyes on other things rather than the front gate. That's what this event staff is doing now. We have 4 metal detectors for each school that we utilize in these games for them to go through, and it's been working pretty well. We also implemented a clear bag policy, just like they have at USC, and since that time, we've seen a lot of schools come right behind us to do the same thing. The Identikit, I briefed you on that months back, was our new entrance into the school, checking for sex offenders and other things. As with all new programs, there was a glitch or two. We've taken care of that, and this thing is running beautifully now, and everybody seems to be very happy with it. Dr. Harris?
So we'd like to conclude by simply sharing with you that there are a number of various and sundry drills that we provide to our students and staff throughout the course of the year. Well over the tune of 360 plus drills, emergency drills here in School District 5, which encompasses all of our schools. We have a reunification plan. We have a template for that. We have some sites that are already identified to assist us in reunification should that be the need. We're trained in fire and safety training as well. We provide gunfire recognition as well as situational awareness. We have also provided training for all of our schools and staff in standard response protocols, which is a program provided by our Love You Guys Foundation. And in partnership with finance and our maintenance and technology staff, we do regularly quarterly assessments, as well as making certain that in terms of camera access and installation, those things are properly in place. I'd like to conclude by simply sharing with you that in the next board meeting, March 9th, I certainly look forward to something I hope you've already heard a little bit about in our media in particular, and that's in reference to our Stop It Solutions. It's an app, an anonymous app that we have launched as of February the 18th in our secondary schools, and we're certainly looking forward to launching it in our elementary schools as well. By that time, we will have launched Stop It throughout School District 5, kindergarten through our adult education program. Chairman Cates and Dr. Melton, members of the board, that's a very brief update regarding safety, and we conclude at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. You know, it's concerning that we have to take these measures, but comforting to know how proactive you have been in District 5, and appreciate the work that you do to keep every one of our guests, our students, faculty, staff, safe and secure, and that you're looking for the things that we're not, and we appreciate that. I'll ask, if you have questions, if you'll ask those of Dr. Melton, and she'll direct those to the appropriate staff. Ms. Hammond?
Dr. Milton, they may have said this, but I know you and I had a conversation about that terrible tornado that hit close to home, and thank goodness it was on a Sunday. I wanted to write down, and I did, he may have said it and I missed it, how many tornado drills we're required to have, and if we have more, and if there's any change. I know as a teacher, we're told to go out into the hall and away from the glass, and then, you know, sometimes there's not a lot of, I'm just speaking as a teacher now, where I teach, but, you know, you have to get in the halls, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but they're told to take a book and put over their head and stay in the halls. Looking at that, and you and I have the conversation, looking at that video that we're able to see where it really hit, and we had the cameras and people can see it. I just wondered if we, as a staff, or they were, looking at an enhanced idea when a tornado's coming to tell our children.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Of course, the tornado at North Central High School was alarming to everyone, I think in the Midlands, and hopefully got the attention across the state, since there was one just several days later in Horry County as well. I'm going to ask Dr. Harris if he would step up for that. We certainly have identified the places that we believe to be the most safe places that we could locate students. I suspect there are similarities between districts as to what we do, but a little bit of differences as well. Dr. Harris.
Absolutely. Thank you for those opening comments or statements in response to that. You're absolutely right. The safe locations that were in place remain in place. This policy, EBCB, in reference to safety drills, was which we revised just about a year ago now, somewhere thereabout, simply gave us a directive in terms by state law, the number of drills that we should do per semester. What I'd like to do is, again, to give some more depth to that, and to also give you an example of some things that we've done over and beyond, as a second part of the question, is ask Officer Ross to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like in a school.
Specifically in reference to a tornado, we're trying to get them away from any objects that could be flying through the wind. So mostly what are we looking at? Glass. Objects like that could come through a window or anything like that. If you're inside an interior room, classroom, we get them to hunker down. The same thing like you said, you do get their head against the wall and whatever objects you can grab. Not necessarily a book, anything to protect your head. Specifically, a good example that I'd like to point out is Chapin Intermediate School. Most of their classrooms have exterior windows. So what we've gone into, we put them inside the hallway, and we actually have markers in the hallway that show how far they have to be in to be away from the glass for a safe measurement. As long as they're within those two measurements in the hallway, they're good to go. That's kind of how we address that.
Mr. Lovelace.
Is it still the case, I mean, when you're in a...
Mr. Lovelace, will you address your question to Dr. Melton, please?
Dr. Melton, okay, excuse me, Chairman. Dr. Melton, usually when you look at rotational shear forces on a structure, you look for a square or a smaller square space, and you look for one without a tall structure, because when you have a tall structure, you have, things that happen to the walls of the structure. Can we get, I think this was what Ms. Hammond was trying to get at. And these things have they've changed over the years, okay? And when you look at the structure, for example, the one at that high school you were talking about, you can see the damage to that, okay? And what we were asking for was to look at each one of our structures and see if you can get the number of people in the smaller spaces that don't have the tall ceilings in them. And that's, that is something that may not have been looked at. And, when you shelter in place, these things are a lot different from something that happens, on a Saturday night or something.
So, Mr. Lovelace, I think that, I'm asking Dr. Harris to step up to field this following my introduction of this. Whenever there's an emergency, it depends on how much time you had prepared for it. We all know that. Depending on the kind of alert that we have. One thing that I don't know that this team has celebrated has been the relationships that they have created, from having the National Weather Service and us calling John Q on cell phones. He's probably on everyone's cell phone as a frequently contacted person to check on weather before an afternoon athletic practice, or if we are fearful of weather, such as we experienced just a week or so ago. Last week was winter weather. The week, I believe, before that, maybe 2 weeks before that, we had potentially high winds and potential tornadoes that were being predicted. So we are on the phone calling people outside of these meetings that you've heard described. But I want to pause to thank this team because our success hinges on relationships. And this team standing before you, our safety officers under Dr. Harris's guidance, have definitely made sure those partnerships have been created. So gentlemen, on behalf of our students and staff, thank you for what you're doing. You are keeping us on the cutting edge to make sure that our staff and our students are safe. Mr. Lovis, to answer your questions about structures, Dr. Harris and Mr. Richardson, of course, are heavily involved with that. With capital under Mr. Richardson's preview, we've inherited some facilities that may not be up to the height of roofs that you're talking about, that they may already be constructed that way. And what are we going to do? What are those places going to be to get as many students safely into a place to make sure that they are as safe as they can be? So Dr. Harris, would you describe what we're doing with those numbers and how we, again, are exceeding what's expected from the State Department of Education of South Carolina?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'd like to share with you is, in response to that, is the value of our partnerships, as you've alluded to. I think also, secondly, that is the value in partnering not only externally with persons or organizations like SLED, emergency managers or emergency programs, law enforcement, but also looking internally to partner with the persons who are here. Our maintenance, our technology, our finance in terms of Mr. Richardson, all coming together and doing walkthroughs and quarterly assessment, taking a look at our buildings and making certain that where we can make adjustments, we're making those adjustments. The policy and what the state saying to us in terms of the number of drills that we should have each is one thing, but what happens internally in terms of how we go about making certain that students are safe and staff are safe, and looking at the making certain that we're not in the direct line of fire, so to speak. Those are things that we're doing internally in our walkthroughs and our assessments. So I feel really, really good about that. I appreciate so much the fact that we have an ongoing communication and contact with all of these internal and external entities. And again, I think it says a lot. It did to me. I certainly hope that it did to you as well. When I heard Officer Cato share with me, he came back running from the state meeting, telling me, hey, guess what I just heard? South Carolina is leading in terms of what we're doing in terms of safety. But School District 5 is over and beyond even that. That rang a bell to me, and that said a lot to me. So I certainly am encouraged by that and look forward to continuing what we're doing, what we've already done by way of safety here in School District 5.
And Dr. Harris, if I may add to that, the weather stations that we are adding, unfortunately, we had a test of that the night of the Dutch Fork Mallard Creek game. Would one of you be prepared to speak to that, Dr. Harris, for Mr. Lovis to hear that as well?
Yes, Dutch Fork and Mr. Gary can help me out, but we've got the Perry Pocket weather apparatus. It's attached to Dutch Fork. It's the concession stand, and what it does, it picks up lightning. And in that particular game, it was a long game, but we were able to pick up lightning 30 miles out. And we were able to get the players inside. We had a plan in place to get the people to the gym. Had air conditioning running, so we worked as a team with facility, law enforcement, and Coach Harvey. Am I forgetting anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. It's an app that Coach Harvey has, and it sends out notifications of the weather for the whole week, actually. So, yep.
Mr.
Other
Case?
questions for Dr. Melton?
Mr. Case, I would like to go back, echo one last time. It was reported every classroom has a Stop the Bleed kit. I'd like for you all to know every teacher has gone through that training. We pray that we never have to use that training, but that's the kind of staff development that our staff is leading here. So again, I'd like to thank all of you. Mr.
I would like to
Ross?
say one caveat to that.
Okay.
We are going forward too with all the school buses. That's
Thank
going to be
you.
coming forward, plus all the district vehicles. So all these maintenance individuals that are up on the roof by themselves will have access to the emergency equipment if they need it.
Thank you. Chief Kills has been here multiple times, our chief of SLED. He's been here multiple times, and he is on call and on our emergency advisement committee as well. So we are using from top to local law enforcement and other agencies to be a part of our plan.
Mr. White?
Just a quick question on the maps that provided the sheriff's offices. Are those digital maps or paper maps or what?
So I'm going to ask Dr. Harris if he would answer that. Dr. Harris, if you would step up and describe what we're trying to do and make sure that we are clear of who's going to have access to those maps.
only the respective agencies will have access to those, and they are digital, and that is something that we have moved from paper to digital, digitizing that. So it makes it a lot easier. They are able, as they are en route to a facility, should something be going, they are paying attention to exactly where to go and where to hone in, and what door to enter, that sort of thing. So it makes, it reduces the loss of time is what that does. So it's a great apparatus.
Mr. Gant has a question for Dr. Melton.
Dr. Melton, I've noticed in the district, several of our buildings will have labels that I hadn't noticed before in front of certain areas. And I'm just wondering if that's part of this, to be able to identify a certain area to get to for a response.
Yes, sir, it
And
is.
if that's going to be a continued effort throughout the district.
Yes, sir, it is, and that has been in collaboration between maintenance and our facility staff and our safety team. Dr. Harris and his team are making sure that we keep things up to date, visible, and connected with the maps that you've just heard described. Yes, sir.
And just an aside to that, I think at one time there used to be a numbering system. That may still be in play, but what I've seen really says front entrance or gymnasium or whatever. So there's no question about looking up what number 12 is.
We do not want to leave anything open to interpretation. We want to make sure we are clear that language doesn't become a barrier.
Thank you.
Mr. Case, that completes the superintendent's report. Thank you, gentlemen.